Youth sports used to be simple. Kids play, parents clap, everybody gets pizza. Done deal. The real story today, the sidelines are starting to feel less like Little League and more like an episode of Cops.
What you gonna do when they come for you?
If your experience at the ballpark, football field, basketball gym is getting compared to an episode of Cops, something's gone way sideways in your life. That is not a good comparison. Look at this headline from Nebraska. Dad sentenced for assaulting referee at youth basketball tournament.
Who's calling the cops? Somebody that. Call the cops. We gotta call the cops. Whoa. Oh, no!
It was an 8th grade boys basketball game, parents on the sideline and in the stands. Now, the referee was doing his job. And by the way, let me say, you don't get rich reffing Little League. I think they either volunteer or get $10 an hour, maybe 15, depends on what part of the country you're in. So you got to really want to do this to do it. Then a parent blindsides him with a sucker punch so hard he was diagnosed with a brain concussion because a parent came out of the stands and hit him in the head so hard his brain rattled around in his skull. The attacker, Joshua Luttrell, father of 4, who, and now you can't make this up, co-founded a youth nonprofit. Normally, this was a rational guy. The mission of this nonprofit on its website was, get this, quote, to lead by example. So this is a man involved in a charity whose mission statement includes the phrase, to lead by example. Now, he then goes into the gym and gets so bent out of shape that this lead by example individual goes down and punches this $10 an hour ref. Now, before handing down his ruling, the judge, well, he was stating the obvious.
That this can't be an acceptable response to something that someone disagrees with. Violence never is. But to do it in front of youngsters like that just aggravates the situation.
At least it should have been obvious. He sentenced Luttrell to 30 days in jail. 30 days in jail. Good for you, Judge. Ordered to complete probation and community service and pay restitution. Now, of course, he's already doing community service. He's leading by example. And perhaps worst of all, for him and his son, he's banned from all youth sporting events until 2026. Good job, Dad. The moral of the story, you hit a ref, you go to jail. Simple as that. But sadly, this was not an isolated incident. According to a national officiating survey, 87% of refs say they have faced verbal abuse. Now you think, well, okay, it comes with the territory, right? Come on, ref, get your head out. Come on, ref, come on. That comes with the territory, but that's different than verbal abuse. 13% have been physically assaulted. 47% fear for their safety. For $10 an hour, you going to do a job where you fear for your safety, where you got to run out of the gym and get in your car? 64% have had to remove a spectator from the stands. They've had to stop the game and get somebody to get that loudmouth moron out of the stands and out of the gym or out of the field, whatever. And 64% have considered quitting. But an embarrassingly high number don't come back for a second or third year. They just say, no, tell you what, I can pick up pop bottles on the side of the road and make better money than this, and all I have to do is worry about getting hit by a car. So this isn't just a couple of loose cannons just going nuts and giving themselves permission to show their ass. This is a pattern of parents behaving badly. Now here's another headline from October. This one from Philadelphia. Lincoln High School football team suspended after brawl involving parents and players.
Lincoln High School's football season is over. The program has been suspended after this brawl broke out after the team's game against Northeast High School last weekend.
This confirms that role modeling is working. You've heard me say, Mom, Dad, you're the most powerful role models in any child's life. Here's proof.
The video shows parents from Lincoln and Northeast, as well as Lincoln's players, fighting there as the Lincoln football team exits the field.
Players and parents, chaos everywhere. In Jersey, these parents made the news this past spring for making spectacles of themselves. Quote, 3 adults charged after brawl breaks out during youth hockey game.
Refs tried to break it up. Other players, coaches, and parents spilled onto the courts. Sources who were there tell me it was unnecessary, unacceptable, and unfortunate.
Egg Harbor Township, youth street hockey. Now, remember what this started with. Kids say, hey, Mom, Dad, can I play in this little league here? And parents say, yeah, sure, have some fun. That's what it's all about. Just be safe and have some fun. Next thing you know, Mom and Dad are out there swinging from the heels. Parents jumping on each other, throwing punches. Kids trying to pull their parents off of people. 3 adults charged, both teams suspended, and kids left wondering, what the hell just happened? And then here in Dallas earlier this year, this headline, Fight Among Parents Led to Chaos at Dallas 2025 NCAA All-Star National Championship.
Around 1 in the afternoon, chaos erupted at the Kay Bailey Hutchison Convention Center.
Which way are we going?
Dallas police say a fight between parents led to multiple poles being knocked down.
So what was that all about? Well, 30,000, that's right, 30,000 of the country's top cheerleaders from 43 states at one of the nation's biggest cheerleading events, and this is the clip that goes viral. A fight between parents ended up with poles being knocked down and causing such loud noises, people thought it was gunshots. Where's this coming from? Who's to blame for all of this? Parents? Coaches? According to one survey of more than 17,000 referees, nearly 30% cited coaches as the worst offenders when it comes to sportsmanship. Now, this is who we've turned our kids over to. By the way, they're probably coaching for free, but nearly 40% cited parents. And surprise, surprise, nearly 60% of respondents believe that overall, sportsmanship is getting worse. You think?
You think?
You think?
You think?
So what's really going on? Everybody loves to blame the few bad apples. But when apples keep flying across the courts and fields, maybe we should look at the whole orchard. I've played sports my whole life, including now. And I always think back to a coach that I had in football that if we got in a fight with a teammate during practice, no matter how tense it was, even 2-a-days, he said, "Oh, you boys want to fight? No problem. We can accommodate you." And he had a washing machine box, a box that a washing machine came in. And he had put steel bands around it so it didn't tear out. And at the end of practice, we had made up. He said, no, you boys tired from running wind sprints? You're not done. Come in here. And he would put both fighters in the washing machine box and put real heavy boxing gloves on them and say, okay, you want to fight? Go ahead. And of course, you're exhausted. You have heavy gloves on. Your arms are like noodles. And you'd fight a little bit and then just be exhausted. And he'd come by and say, no, I'll tell you when to quit. I'll let you know when to quit. And then he'd go back in his office and get him something to drink, do some paperwork, and come back out. You're just exhausted to the point that you just never made that mistake again. But of course, if that happened today, that would be called abuse, I guess. But I tell you what, he sure baked that out of us in a fast hurry. Youth sports aren't collapsing because kids changed. They're collapsing because adults did. Let's just break this down. Some of these adults aren't watching their kids play. They're living vicariously through these kids. They're watching their younger selves. That missed shot, that bad call, it's not about the child. It's about a 20-year-old wound they never healed. It's about a lost opportunity. a fantasy of what could have been. That's not passion, that's baggage. They're living out frustrations that they've carried for all of these years. And I'm guessing they were never that great, and they can't let it go. And so they're going to live vicariously through that child and push them like it's the end of the world instead of recreation. But you know what? It's a passing thing. Only 8.1% of kids playing high school sports are going to go on and play in college. And just 2% are going to play at Division I, 1% in basketball, 3% in football. And of those that do that, less than 2% are going to go on and play professionally. And that career is going to be less than 5 years. So all of this, like the world turns on what's happening, it's just a passing. It's something they're doing. It's better than being on their phones, but for God's sakes, be a better role model. Did you know that 70% of kids quit sports by age 13 because it stopped being fun? The pressure got too high. Parents are putting pressure on them. Coaches are putting pressure on them. It just doesn't make any sense to do anymore. Today, we have an emotional fitness crisis. And it's not children failing the test. Kids bounce back from losses. They shake hands after games. Kids move on, but adults, they're down at the courthouse trying to get their charges reduced because they were throwing punches at refs, storming the field, shouting at teenagers. When teens have to break up their own parents fighting, come on, somehow or another, haven't we lost what this was all about to begin with? Spectator. Sit down, shut up, watch what's going on. You can't force your child to be great. You can't turn back the clock to your time when you weren't that great. Look, everybody wants their child to be a star, and you can blame their not being a star on a bad call, but those tend to even out. You can blame it on somebody else, but the fact of the matter is, if your child's going to be a star, they're going to shine. If they're not, they're going to seek their own level and find something else they're good at. Maybe it's in business, maybe it's in community service, maybe it's being just a good person and a good citizen. But whatever it is, they can't redo you. You had your chance, you did what you did, and they're going to do what they do. Give it a chance. Let them find their own way. You don't have to be perfect to be a good parent, but you do have to be the grown-up. You do have to recognize you are the role model. If you're screaming at refs, if you're charging the field, if you're ending up the news story, then the problem isn't the call, the problem isn't the coach, the problem isn't the other team, the problem is you. Don't be the problem. And I'm going to give you a piece of really good advice here. And there's actually a lot of empirical research that supports this. This is going to seem like a nuance, but it's really not. Next time your child is competing at whatever, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, debate, or choir, when they finish and walk off, ask them this question. How'd you feel about the way you competed today? Did you do your best? And are you proud of yourself for getting out there and giving it a go? Well, I hope you're proud of yourself. Be proud of yourself because you didn't have to get out there and do it, and you did. And only then should you add, I, Mom or Dad, am really proud of you. Because it shouldn't be about them making you proud. It should be about them being proud of themselves. If they're doing this for you, then things are out of balance. What you want is that they're doing this for their own self-image, for their own satisfaction, for their own peace of mind. Your goal is that they be proud of themselves for doing a good job. Win, lose, or draw, that they're proud of themselves, that they gave their best effort, that they put their heart and soul into it, that they did a good job. That's what you want to lead them to, that they can say, hey, I'm proud of myself. Then you can say, well, I'm sure proud of you. I'm proud of you for getting out there. I'm proud of you for when you got a bad call, you shook it off and moved on to the next thing. Roger Federer gave a commencement speech not long ago, and he said out of all the time that he played, that he only won 2 or 3% more points than he lost and was considered the best player in the history of the sport. And the lesson was, when that point's over, go on to the next one. You're going to lose half the time. If you can just go on to the next point. The one behind is over, go on to the next one. Model that for your children. Model that you learn from losing and you celebrate winning. But make sure they're proud of themselves first, and that's what's motivating them to move on. That's what makes them a better person. That's how sports help shape them into the young man or woman they're going to be. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it. It's about them. It's not about you. And that's the real story.
Wherever you're getting The Real Story, make sure you subscribe and follow.